Yo, what's happening, people? Welcome on. Okay, so today let's talk about J. Cole's 2014 album, 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Now, first of all, shout out to UFO for the suggestion. If you have something you want me to talk about, a suggestion, recommendation, album, whatever, let me know in the comments and I'll see what I can do. But let's talk about this particular body of work by J. Cole. But before I do that, let me just appreciate the sun for a moment, because we got some nice sun right now, and I reckon I'm looking kind of fly, if I do say so myself. Yeah, nice weather right now, nice weather. Got to take advantage of that when you can. So yeah, J. Cole 2014 Forest Hill Drive. Now, J. Cole is an artist that I've heard about, I've known about for a while, but overall I'd say I haven't paid a lot of attention to him. I've heard a few songs here and there. I know he got into a little bit of a controversy recently with an artist called No Name, but yeah, we won't get into that. So that's another video. But yeah, overall he's not someone I'm super familiar with, but I do believe, I seem to have a memory of listening to one of his albums years ago. Like, I don't even remember which album it was, and he did try looking it up to see if I could remember or jog my memory, but nah, I couldn't see anything that kind of hit me like that. But I do seem to have a memory of listening to one of his albums. I don't particularly remember what I thought of it, but I don't think I hated it, but then I guess I didn't like it enough to want to keep listening to other stuff either. So I don't know, maybe it was just somewhere in the section. So yeah, he's somebody I've known about, somebody I've heard about, somebody I'd say that I know a little bit about based on what other people say. People say, or people seem to talk about him like a conscious rapper. He speaks the truth, right? He talks about these hard-hitting subjects, and that's kind of impression I have of him based on what other people have said. So yeah, going into this album, that's where I'm coming from. That's the kind of sort of thoughts that I have in my mind. And listening to it, I'd say yeah, it is pretty conscious. I don't know if I'd say it's conscious in the typical way you might talk about conscious rappers, in terms of a lot of times it can be very political. And not to say that he doesn't get political, but he does talk about a range of different subjects that I feel that, I personally feel are quite relatable as somebody who grew up in an area where you see lots of different things and, not necessarily all good things going on, but you're not, strictly speaking, a part of that life. You're witness to it, you're around it, but you're not, strictly speaking, a part of it. You're not in that world. I'm not the gangster, you know what I mean? I'm not that guy. I'm not the road man, you know what I mean? But you see that kind of stuff going on. So I feel like that's where he's coming from with this album, as somebody who's in that area, sees these things going on, but isn't necessarily a part of it. And in one track where he talks about, looking up to somebody, but that same person's looking up to him and telling him that, you don't have to make the choices that I made. You can be better, you're smarter, I've only got these limited opportunities, but you've got so much going for you. And, I feel like I've known people like that. I've known people like that where you kind of look at some people and you think, man, they're so cool because they're doing this, that, and the other, but they're looking at you thinking, shit, man, I wish I didn't have to do this. Yeah, that was a good one. I'll say another track that I think was maybe the most relatable to me was a track called Wet Dreams, where when he talks about, being with this woman, girl, they're teenagers at the time, being it his first time and not really knowing what to do, but, fronting like he knows what to do. And I feel like, what? That's like, yeah, that was pretty close. That was pretty close. I think I've had a very similar experience to that, and, but yeah, that's just ego, it's just such ego that we have. I think a lot of guys, if not all guys, go through things like that where we let our ego just like take over. We can't just say we don't know something or say that we're not experiencing something, but we get so worried about, oh, is she gonna think I'm less of a man, or are they gonna laugh at me, or they're gonna make fun of me, they're gonna think this, gonna think that, and we have this image that we want to uphold. A lot of it is ego. And by the way, I know I'm saying that like, just get over your ego, but truth is that comes from somewhere. There's a lot to do with how we're raised and the images that we're presented with, and the sort of expectations that of men in society. So there's a lot to do with that, where that ego comes from. But fundamentally, that's what it comes down to, is just this ego that we have when we're trying to navigate certain situations. And I think a lot of us grow out of that. At least I hope a lot of us grow out of that. But yeah, maybe some of us don't, right? Some of us are still in our grown-ass adult years, still in that kind of a mindset of, not being able to admit that you just don't know something, or that you're not as good as something. But yeah, certainly I feel like there's a lot of relatability in it. I think there's a lot of people who can get something from this outside of just the cool bars, and there are pretty cool bars in this, and so I feel like it's a really cool combination of, you know, being sick with the bars, being sick with the raps, but also, you know, talking about these subjects that I guess personally I don't think I hear that much in hip hop. And to be fair, as it's becoming more and more apparent in recent weeks, I probably don't know as much about hip hop as I thought I did. So yeah, I guess for myself, it's like I'm not hearing stuff like this very often. There's a few things he talks about though that I thought really interesting. Like there's one part he talks about copyright. You know, if you put something out into the world, you should not be able to tell me that I can't use it. And that's something that I really agree with, actually. I feel like that's how I kind of see art. Once you create something, you put it out into the world, it doesn't really belong to you anymore. I mean, of course, you could talk about the legalities of copyright and that's you know, there. But in terms of, you know, how people take it and how people interpret it, or how people are inspired by it, you know, you have no control over that. And he's talking about how, you know, people who they were inspired by the world, and then their creations inspired other people. The people who they inspire should be able to just take their music and use it in any way they want to, you know. And yes, you could, you know, you pay them their royalties or their percentage or whatever, and that's fine, but you should not be able to tell them they cannot use it. So that was like, yeah, I feel like that's how I kind of see art, that yeah, once it's out into the world, people should be able to use it in any way they want. I feel like when you try to exert control over certain things, it really just takes away the fundamental beauty of what art can do. So yeah, it's like you just need to let go of things sometimes. I feel like artists need to let go and understand that what you put out into the world, you might have an intention of what you want to do with it, but what people actually do with it could be completely different, and you don't really have the right to tell them that they can't have those thoughts and they can't interpret it that way, or they can't use it in this way, because ultimately that's what it meant to them, and what it meant to them is personal to them. There's also a track where he talks about being grateful for what you have, but at the same time still pushing forward and still you know, striving towards greatness. I think that's another important message as well, that what we have, like, we're looking at what we have, and sometimes we kind of look at ourselves like, oh man, I don't got nothing, this and that. But you know, what we have could be luxury compared to what somebody else has. You know, they're looking at us like, man, you guys are rich, and we're looking at ourselves like, man, we ain't got nothing. So it's like, yeah, I feel like it's important to be grateful for what you have and the things that are in your life and the people in your life, even the bad people you gotta be grateful for, because there's lessons in there as well. But at the same time, just because you're grateful for where you are and understand that, you know, some people have it far worse than you, just because you can understand that doesn't mean that you can't also try to improve and try to keep bettering yourself and try to keep learning, keep pushing, keep getting better and better and better, so that every day that you are better than you was before. But for me, I'll say the standout tracks are Wet Dreams, of course, Fire Squad, and No Role Models. Fire Squad just because, you know, the bars in that I just think are pretty sick. And then No Role Models is like a really cool sounding track as well. But also just for what he talks about in that track, where he talks about Uncle Phil being the only father figure that he had, and then he talks about being too young for Nia Long and too young for Lisa Bonet. So I guess J. Cole is kind of an old soul and a young body. Yeah, I don't think I'm too young for Nia Long or Lisa Bonet, but I guess my only regret is that I just didn't get to meet them. You know, they went off with some other guys without knowing that I exist, so that's my regret. I'm just saying, maybe, just maybe, if I was pushing for my dreams a lot earlier, maybe, just maybe, I'd be married to Lisa Bonet and I'd be in the Aquaman movie, except it wouldn't be called Aquaman because I aren't really swim too well. It'd have to be called like Oxygen Man or something, you know, or Stay on a Boat Man with a lifeguard nearby. That's what it has to be called. But yeah, great album. I really enjoyed listening to this album. I'm kind of thinking that, yeah, I probably should have been paying more attention to J. Cole over the years, but oh well, better late than never. So yeah, that's what I think of 2014 Forest Hills Drive. Let me know what you think of it if you've listened to it. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, let me know. But that's gonna be it for the minute. So guys, until whenever, if ever, peace.